Good morning, dreamers and non-believers, and how's your day going? Oh, that's unfortunate. Would you like a distraction? Good, because you don't have a choice. So Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, a horse long since beaten. You see, the game was announced on September 16th, 2020, which I actually didn't know till I was writing this, but fun fact, that's my birthday. Weird 16th birthday present, but you know what? I'll take it. It got delayed, which is okay. Games take time to make. And then it got delayed again. And then on December 16, 2021, the game finally released. And as you might expect me to say, it was glitchy to all hell. Nearly unplayable, yada, yada, yada. We already know all this. We already know that the game was a massive disappointment from a technical standpoint. It was glitchy to all balls, and then even from a lore standpoint, well, I'm not touching that because I'm insane, not stupid. Whenever the game releases anything, it will be dissected down completely. Every detail will be looked at and interpreted hundreds of thousands of times to figure out more of these games and what might come next. You see, the game released previous to Security Breach was Five Nights at Freddy's Help Wanted. And honestly, it was an amazing game. It was the first Five Nights at Freddy's VR game with recreations of the past games along with its own unique game modes. Mwah! And then the actual story of the game, which Glitch Trap, which fun fact, was the first thing in this entire series to give me a nightmare, was also amazing. These games rewarded you for looking around and exploring a little bit with the tapes that would unlock more of the lore and tell you more about the story of Glitch Trap. Was the first game developed by Steel Wool Studios. Not their first game, but the first Five Nights at Freddy's games they developed. But the first Five Nights at Freddy's VR game was going to be a hit no matter what, because so many people wanted a Five Nights at Freddy's VR game. So I kind of almost feel bad for them in a way, because their expectations, or the expectation set onto them, was almost set a little bit too high. Because whenever it was announced they were going to make a full-fledged game, everyone was so hyped. Even when the game got delayed, people just got more and more hype for these games, because they were like, oh my god, they're delaying the games. Because you gotta remember, nowadays games will sometimes just be released broken with promises that they will be fixed later. So whenever we hear that a game got delayed now, the reaction isn't anger, but now it's more heartwarming, or more, it's better, because now you know that they're taking the time to make sure these games are right. So I feel bad that they, even though they delayed the game, how it still came out, all right? So if we're gonna do this, I should probably go over the summary of this game. And hopefully I can do this in one take, because I was supposed to get a whiteboard today, but I forgot to go to Walmart, and it's now 2 a.m. because that's how my sleep cycle works. So these are just pieces of paper taped to my wall, so I only have one chance to draw this out. Am I too committed to this shot of the take? Yes. Am I gonna do it anyway? Yes. Is this actually just funnier than having a whiteboard? Yes. Am I gonna have to tear this down and put it up again whenever I inevitably mess up this take? Also, yes. So I'm gonna just quickly draw the plot of this game. You play as a boy named Gregory. That's how I'm spelling his name. You play as a boy named Gregory, and now Gregory is stuck inside this building, this big old building called the Pizzaplex. All right.
Now, the Pizzaplex is home to the Glamrock animatronics. You got Freddy, you got Monty, you got Roxanne Wolf, and you got Chica. Should I give them more detail? They don't deserve more detail, okay? Anyway, you should have the images on the screen. Thank you, editor me. And now these are the 4 core animatronics of this game, but there's 2 other. Well, I say 2 other animatronics.
Anyway, that's been weather, not the sports. One take. I'm like that. I'm like that. 14 minutes. 14 minutes of me just standing there like. Yet nobody was able to make it that far into the game because of how badly the bugs were in the game. If you want some proof, go watch early speedruns of this game. It isn't like other games where the early speedruns are just people playing through the game as quickly as they could before glitches were found. No, early speedruns of this game were showing game-breaking glitches. It's pretty simple because honestly, to trigger an ending, you just had to walk in the right area because games, once you step onto the right area, will maybe trigger a cutscene. And since this game was free roam, if you could break out of bounds and then just walk into the right direction, it would load in the end scenes. Because while linear games, there is no way to trigger the cutscene because you can't trigger the cutscene unless you were in the spot just before it. In free roam games, if you get close enough to the area, it will load in that part of the map and you can just walk onto it. So if you were able to get out of bounds near one of the endings, it would load in that area and then you would go back inbounds to the area and just step onto the ending. And now this might seem unfair because speedrunners are intentionally doing this just so they can get a fast time. But there were bugs in the game that you couldn't avoid. Like there were walls in the game that didn't have collision. Walls in the game with no collision, meaning you can just walk through them and go out of bounds. Easy enough. Another way to just deload the map is if you jumped and try to get into Freddy at the same time. Which I feel like is super easy to do by accident. You know, not even by accident. Someone might even do it on purpose. They'd be like, oh, I gotta get in Freddy. Jump and try to get in. Because when you do that in an early game, or at least whenever the game was first released, it would deload the entire map. How does that happen? How does this happen? A lot of people were really upset about this game. Because how do you delay a game so much and yet it turn out like this? If you want to just see how many glitches this game really had, Astral Spiff made an amazing video of just a compilation of glitches. All the way down from texture errors, all the way up to game breaking. He even shows you how to duplicate each and every character in the game. So go watch his video. It's honestly a really good video. Honestly, watch a lot of his content. He makes really good content. I know it seems like I'm just grilling this game, but how can I not? It was such a massive issue. I mean, how could a game be delayed this much and be this bad? Like, so many people wanted this game to succeed, me included, and it came out to nothing more than a buggy mess. Are you done? Who are you?
Well, I'm you and you're me.
That doesn't make sense.
It doesn't matter. This is all exposition anyway.
Gosh,
now
okay.
move.
Gotta be mean.
I'm not mean, you're just ugly. Let's try that again.
On December 16, 2021, Security Breach dropped. A game so inexplicably broken, players were able to break it down completely and make something new out of it. Active Security Breach supporter, Astral Spiff, said he treats the game like an open world sandbox, and looking at the content he makes, he's right. Being the game without items, being the games without Freddy, being the game without running, without jumping, the game is so inescapably broken, yet within that colossal wreck, there was a beauty. Quote from Steel Wool Studios. Over the last few months, we began our full development push on our upcoming DLC, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruin. There's not much to share at this point, other than we're working hard and are very excited to share more as soon as the time is right. It's worth saying that while there will always be skeptics, as there always should be, the response has been overwhelmingly positive, and your excitement has put smiles on all of our faces here at the studios. We get hyped when you do, and it reminds us why we love doing what we do. I read this as we are moving on from Security Breach and putting all of our efforts to Ruin. I know expectations are low, but we are still excited to move forward, as I know many of you are. And I like it. I liked this quote. It did make me happy whenever I read it, even though there, obviously you had the corporate talk in there, but I felt like under that layer,
there was some sense of genuineness to this. I like to describe it as when you have a bad day, you can do everything in your power to try to turn the day around, but at some point you have to throw in the towel, lay down in bed, and try again tomorrow. Because there will be a tomorrow, hopefully. But there will be a tomorrow. And you can just try your best again. Because you will have a bad day at some point, and that's okay. And that's what they did. They tried their best. They tried their best to fix the game. And at some point, they did have to set it down to work on their next project. Does this excuse them for releasing a game so broken the players had to find the beauty in it? God, no. Of course not. No, there was no... I mean, of course there's reasons, but there was no real reason it should have happened. Their ambition was maybe a little bit too high. And they shouldn't have aimed for something so big so early. The DLC for this game, Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Ruin, that's a long title, was safer. It was a completely linear game. You couldn't break through the walls and just completely run towards the end. Because the end only existed in the chapter right before that, and that only existed in the chapter right before that, and so on and so forth. So the game was safer. It was more steady. But honestly, it was also less memorable. Because you would just go through the game once and then you were done. With Security Breach, like I said earlier, we had people like Spiff who would, yeah, he beat the game once, but that's not what he's known for. He's known for taking what seems like impossible things to do and making them possible within the confines of these games. And I think that's awesome. Did Security Breach fail at what it set out to do? Yeah, absolutely. Does it make it a failure? No, I don't think so. Because if you view failure as something so black or white, it will eat you alive when you eventually fall, because there is no greater teacher than to fail. We all need to fail. If I didn't drop out of college, I would have spent the rest of my life wondering if I should have went. If my first relationship didn't fail, I would have never grew into the person I am now. If this game didn't fail, we wouldn't have this beauty of a series we have now. I spent this whole video telling you that Security Breach failed, landed in the dirt, just to now tell you it's not failure. Because the point I'm trying to get at is just because you failed doesn't make you a failure. There will always be a tomorrow. There will always be another chance. And all I can ask of you is to just try your best. Sometimes your best is just going to be drinking a cup of water for that day. Sometimes your best is just getting out of bed. And that's okay. All I ask is that you try again. So brush off your pants, get the hell up, and try again. I can't wait to see what you have in store next.